All right. Hello and good afternoon, Alaska. Hope everyone is having a great start to fall. And we're going to wait another minute or so for more people to join. And hope you're all able to use your Uber Eats that was sent this morning and enjoy lunch while watching this. If you didn't get to use a code, it should be still good to use until Friday afternoon. And let me know in the Q&A box what you're ordering. So we're in California. And we recently had Vietnamese food, so rice vermicelli noodles. I had some grilled beef and like the pickled vinegar vegetables. It's really good. It's one of my favorite cuisines. I just love the use of herbs and vegetables and just the different protein options. And of course, the soups are really good. And banh mi is really awesome. And let's see. Someone got burgers. Someone got, some salmon with like a rice pilaf. That's always nice. I like getting that at Urban Eats if that's like a chain up in Alaska. And I see someone got a hot dog, some fried chicken. Oh, nice. Burger and tots from a local burger restaurant. That's awesome. I You can't go wrong with the burger. I've been doing more of like the protein style, like at In-N-Out, since we're in California, that's a big chain, but I know they just started one in Nevada. And I love tater tots. I love potatoes, French fries. And looks like we got nice salad, soup and salad combo, Panera. All right, so we're going to get started and I'll just do a little bit of housekeeping. At the end of this presentation, I'll be following up with the email to provide the HRCI and shroom credits. Oh yeah, potatoes are awesome all day, every day. Thank you so much for engaging in the webinar too. Feel free to ask questions throughout. So at the end of this presentation, I'll be sending the HRCI shroom credits. So if you do have any questions, if you put anything in the Q&A box, I'll try to do my best to check the question box and get back to you as soon as possible. These questions will be saved and I may not be able to address them as they appear, but hopefully in the follow-up, you'll be getting an answer soon. And if you want any further information, feel free to respond to the email I'll be sending with the credits. And then we're also going to send a recording that you can share with your colleagues. That'll be sent through Zoom. Today, we're going to talk about Alaska nonprofits and unemployment. Before I get started, just wanted to do a quick intro of myself. My name is Janessa Ponko. I'm the Senior Membership Development Representative here at 501. I've been in sales since 2016. I was selling vendor booth space at a wedding fair for about 3 years. And then I was setting up meetings for tech startups during the pandemic. And currently, I've been with 501 since 2023, scheduling appointments with nonprofits. And there's the image of me, or a picture of people bowling that'll include me and some of our sales and marketing team members. Heidi's my manager in the middle. You might work with her in the future. And then we have Evan on our right, who helps with our marketing and web development. I'm really excited to be a part of a team that's been helping nonprofits save time and money that can go towards furthering their mission. And we're located in San Jose, California. So we're in the heart of the Silicon Valley, dedicated to helping nonprofits reduce unemployment expenses across the United States. And thank you again for joining to learn more about cost-effective strategies and managing unemployment in your state. So we're going to provide a broad overview on how unemployment insurance works, alternatives for 501c3 nonprofits when it comes to unemployment, how reimbursing works. We're also going to use some real life examples of nonprofits we've helped with our cost analysis, and then finally provide more information on 501 and how many of our Alaska nonprofits, we have almost 45 from the state that have benefited from our services. And so just wanted to start off with a little history to put unemployment in perspective. Unemployment started in the US in the 1930s following the Great Depression and New Deal, where the federal government wanted to create a safety net for workers who lost their jobs through no fault of their own. from 1930 to 1972. 501c organizations, they didn't pay into unemployment benefits for separate employees. Although they saved them money from saving taxes, employees that were laid off couldn't reap the benefits of that safety net that for-profit companies provided. Now, fast forward to 1972, the federal government changed the law under the Social Security Act to where nonprofits must pay into unemployment, but they were provided different options in how they pay. So that tax wouldn't be seen as an unnecessary expense for them. Unemployment is overseen on the federal level. However, each state gets to manage their own programs however they choose. So throughout the US, you'll see like different taxable wages, tax rates, benefit amounts, but we're just going to cover information in the state of Alaska. And when it comes to management, unemployment rates can be adjusted annually and are adjusted by experience. So let's say if you have a year or two of bad claims, your tax rate will increase. And most states, including Alaska, run as a risk pool. So what you're putting in doesn't necessarily equate to what you'll get out. And we are seeing a lot of nonprofits putting more money into that state pool than what they're actually getting back. And then these total tax liabilities by employers, they're often greater than the claims paid with reserves used in times of a recession. And to calculate what you have to pay into the state pool, you multiply the taxable wage base by your employer tax rate. For the state of Alaska, the weekly benefit amount is determined by an individual's earnings during a base period that consists of the first 4 of the last 5 completed calendar quarters once or before the claim gets filed. And then the maximum weekly benefit amount for unemployment for a single person, no dependents, is $370. And then 26 weeks is the maximum number of weeks a person can claim on unemployment. Claimants can also receive an additional allowance of $24 a week per eligible dependent, up to a maximum of 3 dependents, so you can get up to an additional $72. So if you multiply the maximum number of weeks times that maximum weekly benefit amount, an individual could claim or get a maximum between $9,620 to $11,492 for unemployment claims. So for how many weeks maximum for Alaska, you can claim or get up to 26 weeks in unemployment for the maximum number that you can get unemployment benefits. And then the chart shows like the maximum weekly benefit amount. So it just depends on the dependents. And as I said before, so the maximum weekly benefit amount ranges from $370 to $442, and then you can claim up to 26 weeks. And then we also have the taxable wage base. So the federal government sets the wage base at a minimum of $7,000, and there's no maximum. Currently, Alaska's taxable wage base, it's currently set at $51,700, which means for the first $51,700 an employee earns, your organization is taxed on that. And then the minimum tax rate starts at 1%, and then the maximum tax rate is at 5.4%, and those are both set by the state. And from the last slide, the last thing I want to note is that improper payment rate, which is at 7.57%, this equates to around $14 million in overpayments to former employees who are collecting unemployment from the past 3 years. This is information that we get from the Department of Labor. You can see Alaska is one of the many states that's between 10 to 13%. This is important to know as we really encourage you to look over your claims, make sure that you're not overpaying for anybody's claims. And here at 501c Services, we help organizations monitor this. And in the last year, our team removed over $1 million in claims liabilities for our Alaska members. And if you are managing on your own, you really want to make sure you're properly charged for a former employee's weekly benefit amount. And like I said before, in 1972, the federal government allowed nonprofits to pay, or they required nonprofits to pay into unemployment, and they had 3 different options. One is that you pay the state tax that we mentioned earlier with that tax rate that's set by the state and multiplying that by your taxable wages. And then another option is that you can self-insure or reimburse for your unemployment, where you just pay dollar per dollar for your unemployment claims. So instead of paying into that state pool, you're basically only paying for the benefits issued. And then the last option is kind of a hybrid of both, where you buy insurance that offers the savings of reimbursing while also providing that safety net. Just to let you know, reimbursing is not for everyone. The qualifications we look at for considering reimbursing is that an organization must be a 501c3 nonprofit. It excludes religious institutions. We recommend a gross annual payroll of $1 million or more, because typically if your payroll is under $1 million, especially significantly less than that number, what you're paying into that state tax pool is probably pretty minimal, and you might not see much significant savings by opting out. However, there are some scenarios where you could see potential savings. So we'd be happy to look at your numbers, even if you're just slightly less than $1 million. And then we also look at a positive audit of the past 3 years. So that means in order for reimbursing to benefit you, we try to look at if what you paid each year in taxes exceeds what you're paying in actual claims. And then we want to make sure that there isn't any major disruption in funding for the next 24 months. So we will recommend to stay with the state tax system if you know if you might get anything from like upcoming layoffs or a reduction in workforce, losing funds, or closing any programs where tax rates may go up with experience. And then you'll probably want to wait once those claims decrease. So what it means to reimburse is that your state tax rate turns to 0%, and the state will bill you only for the unemployment claims you receive over the quarter. So this is a great way for nonprofits to save money and be a better steward of donor dollars. And the process is seamless for separate employees. No matter how your employees separated, they're still going to go through that same process in your unemployment department, where the state will determine their benefit amount based on the base period pay. The only change is how that quarterly bill is calculated. So instead of paying that unemployment insurance tax, where it's that tax rate times the taxable wage base calculation, you're now only responsible for the charges your organization incurs. And we work with over 1,500 nonprofits across the nation, and we have around 45 that are in Alaska. So you're probably wondering what motivates them to reimburse. In most cases, reimbursing saves money. On average, savings can be anywhere from 20 to 40% compared to paying into the state tax system. And this is really the driver for most organizations to switch. Reimbursing eliminates any concern of those changes in the state tax, such as like tax hikes you can't control. And then you become a better steward of donor dollars, as you're just paying for your actual claims than putting taxes into that state pool. And because unemployment is managed by the federal government big picture, reimbursing is allowed in all 50 states, best with employers with over $1 million in payroll and at least 15 or more full-time employees. If you're on the borderline, we can certainly talk, as sometimes there might be circumstances where you can consider reimbursing for your organization. And then if you're smaller and reimbursing already, we can still consider you for our services and how we can help you reduce your risk. And now we're going to look at some examples. So before I talk about how SUI is calculated, like I mentioned earlier, we're going to show some real cost assessments we've done in the past. And the taxable wage base is customized by each state. So for Alaska, the taxable wage base is set at $51,700. All employers in the state pay the same taxable wage base. It represents the first $51,700 of an employee's earnings. There's no maximum and can increase or decrease by any amount each year. And then the tax rate is set annually by the state and is based on experience. So to calculate that contribution amount, you multiply the taxable wage base by the tax rate. So for Alaska, it's at $51,700 times that range of 1 to 5.4%. This amount means that if each employee is making over $51,700, a company is paying in between $517 to $2,792 per employee in unemployment. And what we do to get started on a cost analysis is that we look at your tax rate notice. This document includes your tax rate that's highlighted at the bottom of this example. So it's at 1% for this organization. And then your taxable wages from the last 4 quarters. And for Alaska, our team contacted the state to get the claims information. You would have to sign an authorization form, and then we could provide that claims information for you. And for this example, the organization paid over $46,000 in taxes, and we found that they paid $27,000 in claims. So their overpayment was over $19,000. Based on this information, we recommended this nonprofit to reimburse, and then they eventually became part of our trust. And we're also going to show you more examples of nonprofits that had significant overpayments, and then they eventually became our members too. Just let you know, there's no need to understand every single number on this document. We can also look at your numbers and see where you can potentially save too. And in this first example of a human services nonprofit we worked with, the taxable payroll was just shy of $1 million, tax rate at 4.7%, estimated claims only around $200 per year. And in this case, we look at a 3-year average of claims. So they were overpaying $45,000 a year. And think of what you can do with an additional $45,000. And in this next example, the taxable payroll is around $700,000, tax rate 3.38%, estimated annual claims $5,900, estimated unemployment taxes were almost $24,000, so they overpaid around $18,000. A little bit more about 501c services. We were founded in 1982 by a former UCP executive, John Hugstad. He was looking for ways to save money for his organization, and he was looking into reimbursing, and not a lot of his peers at the time were reimbursing it. So he, along with 25 nonprofit leaders in San Jose, came up with the idea of starting a trust. And he created the first kind of grantor trust called the Joint Unemployment Compensation Trust. It eventually became 501c Services, and then our trust is called 501c Agencies Trust. And we started at 25 members in San Jose and have now grown to helping over 3,000 nonprofits in various ways. And then in 2016, John sold the company back to his employees. So we're now 100% employee owned. And from our receptionist to the CEO, every member is committed to our company and serving our members. Our services are valued tremendously, with our company having over a 98% retention rate. And these are a couple of testimonials our members have shared. The first one is from an Alaska nonprofit, and you can go back to these later as I'll send the slides after the presentation. And here we have a clip from our 40th anniversary celebration a few years ago that includes testimonials from Anika Lund and Mike Hoffman from Start Early, Mary Sue and Michael Eady from CISC, Sandy Leota and Chris Marshall of Baltimore Center Stage, and Phyllis Austin and Jason Penniger of Boys and Girls Clubs of America.
What makes me passionate about working for a non-for-profit organization is because I knew I always wanted to work for a mission-driven organization.
Our mission is to work with immigrant communities so that they can achieve the American dream.
501 helps focus our service to the community by giving us more time.
501 helps us focus on serving our communities by providing services directly to our HR professionals.
The biggest benefit for working with 501 is really the transparency and ability to forecast our costs when it comes to our unemployment benefits.
They also keep our cash flow steady through claims that are sound and take a lot of the admin burden off of us so we can just stay on autopilot.
We're very grateful for all the support you provided over the last 4 decades, and we wish you continued success in the future.
Congratulations, 501, on your 40th anniversary. It's been a pleasure serving with you for the last 24 years.
And like I said earlier, we work with around 45 Alaska nonprofits. This is a quick snapshot of a few nonprofits here in the state that are members. And you may recognize some nonprofits. And as you heard them say in the clip, we help nonprofits relieve administrative burdens that can come with unemployment. And then the first way we help nonprofits is through our claims management. Our team will help you manage, audit, protest claims. So if you ever have to protest, we offer unlimited access to hearing reps. Our team has an 88.2% protest win rate in the state of Alaska. And then when you become part of our trust, you have a dedicated claims manager, and all of your claims will go through this online portal where you'll get notified that a claim has been filed. So you'll go into that portal and respond to the questions. If in any case you go on PTO and forget to delegate these tasks, it shouldn't be a problem. For when a claim isn't responded to in several days, it gets escalated and handled. So a big part of our claims management is that our team doesn't want to get or see your organization get hit by those Alaska error rates or see your organization overpay. So we'll help you audit those charges for you and prevent you for paying for a claim if someone gets terminated. And then we want to make sure that you're managing these claims and also have enough support to do so. And then we also have our HR services. It includes 3 components. So we offer access to unlimited HR consultations. We're a small dedicated team that can answer any of HR related questions that you may have. So if you ever have an ongoing issue, you can develop rapport with the person who will support you and manage any of those HR questions. We also have trainings throughout the year that are HRCI and SHROOM certified. And there's also an online knowledge library with our HR services. And with the 370 to 442 maximum weekly benefit amounts here in Alaska, our goal is to help you keep that cost as low as possible. So if you ever lay someone off, we have the reemployment tool that offers packages that range from online coaching, interview techniques, and resume writing. And we've seen that individuals who've used this reemployment tool found a job 4 weeks faster compared to those that didn't. It's never fun to let someone go, but at least you can give them the safety net and resources to help them secure a new job faster, which in return can help your organization save more money. And then we have the protection part. It's our insurance part of our program. So most of our members take our stop loss protection, which helps our members during catastrophic claims. And then other than catastrophic claims, for managing the highs and lows of unemployment, we have the trust or reserve account. So whenever you have a claim that comes in, and what we do is we pay your claim through this reserve account that we start for your organization. It's your own money. Your organization owns this account where you would save for those possible unexpected number of claims. And so I hope this sparked your interest, and maybe some of you may want to manage your unemployment through us as a reimbursing employer. If you want to look into potential savings, what I need from you is your 941s or estimated payroll from 2024 to 2025 as a reimburser. And if you are paying into the state tax, I would need a copy of your recent 2025 tax rate notice, and then also a signed authorization form so we can contact the state of Alaska to get the claims history. And then that area to sign for the authorization will be included on an evaluation form I'll be sending in the follow-up email. All right, thank you so much. And I'm glad this was great info for everyone. And if you do have any questions, the first question I have is, does it cost anything for these services? Yes, we do have a trust administrative fee. The fees are based on your size of payroll. What we do is we create the cost analysis for you. And if you're in the state tax system, we'll show like the comparison of what you're paying into the state tax system versus what you could pay just as a reimburser. It'll also include our trust administrative fees and any other fees that may come with like being in the state of Alaska. So I'll send a follow-up email that'll include like what you would need in the cost assessment. Once we run the numbers, we'll follow up with you with the results and let you know how much those fees might potentially be. And then just wanted to cover the question from before. The maximum amount of weeks you have to pay for unemployment benefits in Alaska is 26. And I will stay on another minute or so. I think that's all the questions I have for now. And what I'll do in the next few hours is send over the HRCI and TRIM credits. I'll send the slides of this presentation. You're going to get a recording of Zoom in about an hour or so. And then you'll get the Alaska cost assessment form. So if you fill that out, we can do a free cost analysis for you and see where you could potentially save. And if you have any further questions, this is my contact information. And it'll be also included in the follow-up email. But thank you, everyone. And I'm glad to provide information in the state of Alaska. And hope everyone has a great lunch and great rest of the week.